Good day, everybody. I'm in the garage today and I'm working on some battery trickle charge stuff. I don't know how many of you guys out there run trickle chargers off season on your equipment, but if you don't run a trickle charger, you should be running a trickle charger, because batteries will discharge in their natural straight state, just sitting there. They will discharge on you and you'll notice. That's why if you go to start something up that's been sitting for a long time, well, and the battery was never really good to start with, and even if it was good over the long term, you'll notice your battery's dead when you go to start something. Well, they just naturally discharge. What I'm doing this morning is I'm making up a tender, battery tender, aka we'll call it a trickle charger, battery maintainer, call it what you will. So what I did was, you get these, I'll show you. When you got these battery maintainers here, they always come with a cigarette lighter adapter to charge also. I don't use these, I cut them off. And I turn these into a pigtail, and what I do is I end up putting these permanently on the battery of each piece of equipment I got. So every piece of equipment I have, all the excavators and the TW Yamaha 200, the King Quad, stuff like that, off season, I run trickle chargers on them. Anything I'm not using on the off season that sits, and probably the snowmobile this year, actually, with that new battery, is going to come out of there and it's going to go on trickle in here. But anyway, these get mounted permanently to each battery, to each piece of equipment, and it never comes off. And that's what we're going to do right now on this U25 Kubota, and we'll go from there and talk about some trickle charging. All right, so we're going to hook up this pigtail on this U25 right now. And like I say, I always keep these on every piece of equipment. And this guy just never had a permanent wire on him, charging plug on him. So we'll put one on. And you can see, when you look at this, I use the fork connector, and all I do is loosen up the end of the cable termination there, and I just slide it in there and then tighten up the bolt on each side and pinch this fork. That's all I do. You can use all different ones. You can use the round eyes and crimp them on the end and take the nut completely off and put them on the end of the bolt and then tighten them up, or you can just loosen them off, slip these forks in here around the battery. See what I do, I loosen them off and I just slip that fork in there because that's just what I have handy. Right there, you can see it. So right there, you just take it and you slide it in there, and then you tighten it up and you can lay it down, whatever, it doesn't really matter. And put it in there, or it could even go on the outside and then fold it back. Whatever works for you, and that's what you do there. So that's what we'll do. Now in this particular case, as you can see, I opened up the bolt, spread the battery termination, opened it right up, and I slid that fork into the one side. Then we'll tighten that back up. Just use whatever terminations you got. All we're trying to do is make sure when we slip that plastic cover back in the post, on your negative post and on your hot side and your positive post, that you can kind of get your plastic cover back on there as best as you can anyway. spring has sprung here nicely. We've lost at least 60% of our snow, which is nice. So that's why I'm out in the shop working. All right. So you can see what I did there. I bent that fork, tucked it in behind there, and then gives me a little bit more room. Just gives me some room to put that ground cover back on that ground right there. That's all you're trying to do. And then maybe I'll switch the same thing over here. All right, hopefully you guys can see that. So I got the pigtail installed in that battery for my, and you can, these will adapt to a newer style battery charger with a processor on it, or a maintainer, trickle charger, whatever. You can adapt it to all these pigtails, so it doesn't really matter. Got your exposed terminal going to ground, and your hot side, of course, is covered up. So that way you can rub on anything, go to ground is fine. It doesn't matter. And I have those on every piece of equipment. And I have to put a maintainer on there. Actually, we can put one on right now while we're at it. All right. So let's have a little look. Hopefully you guys can see okay. Now you look at this particular maintainer right here, and this one's called Intelligent Battery Charger. And what this will do is this will load and unload your battery. It'll just read. It obviously has some sort of small processor, microprocessor inside, and what it'll do is charge your battery, load your battery, and then unload it and give it charging as it feels it needs it. But one thing I have to say, before you put a maintainer, one of these small maintainers, generally with these ones, you have to charge your battery first. These are not meant, although it says Intelligent Battery Charger, the instructions on these tell you to first charge up your battery, whether it's 12 volt or 6 volt or 24 volt, whatever your maintainer is. In fact, we're on 12 volt now. But anyway, charge your battery first with your full battery charger. Take it right up before storage or sitting, and then put your maintainer on it. And they tell you that these are really meant to maintain and keep your voltage up. They're not meant to take you from a dead charge, because sometimes this style charger slash maintainer, it won't even recognize that you have it hooked up if your voltage is too low in your battery. It'll go into a charge state and it'll never leave. You'll never get a charge out of this. So this is meant really to hold a charge and maintain a charge in the off season or long-term storage. And as you can see, all we did with that is we unplugged the alligator clips. No need for them really at all. And then you just plug it in. And like I say, I got them on everything. I don't think there's anything in the shop right now, with the exception of that Kubota 80, that doesn't have one. And right away, you'll see, as soon as I plugged it in, it goes to battery charge right there. And we'll plug it in, and because that's telling you that this battery is right up on charge. All right, so on this particular one, even though I plugged it into 110 volts, this maintainer, it's green. And that tells you that the battery's charged. And what this will do is it'll just stay like this and stay like this. As that battery amperage or voltage drops, this will turn into a yellow color. And it will switch, that processor will switch over, and it'll go to a charged state. And it'll take that battery, when it unloads so much, this will turn yellow, and the battery will be down. It'll turn yellow, and then it'll charge this battery back up slowly, and probably puts out, I don't know what it says, but it's probably, I'm going to say, there you go. Charging 2 amps. So it just read that. Now it went to the charge state, 2 amp. So what this does is just modulates between load and unload really, and puts 2 amps on this battery and takes it till it takes it up to a full charge. That's all they do. And it might take it down to 12.6, 12.7 amps possibly. And then it'll go to this state here, and it'll take it right up to the maximum amperage, whatever that may be, 13.5, 13.6. Then it'll go green again. So that's all these maintainers do. They just keep an eye on your battery. The processor reads the amperage, voltage, whatever on the battery, and then it'll just top it up. It'll keep loading and unloading versus continuously charging. You don't want to put a battery charger on your battery for the winter, thinking it's going to maintain a battery, because it's not. You want to put a maintainer on there that will load and unload the batteries, or some battery chargers, especially the old style ones. They'll just continuously put voltage in there, and they can just boil your battery. And in turn, what that does is really boils the inside of your battery, boils out the water, and boils out your electrolyte in there, your sulfuric acid. You get hydrochloric acid coming out of the battery. It's basically just frying your battery, and that's not a good thing. So that's why you want to put a maintainer on. And like I say, okay, and there we go. As you can see, now it's green. So it just went from yellow to green. And it will just keep popping off and on as required to keep this battery topped up and in good shape. So, like I say, I keep them on. Here's a whole kerfluffle barrage of extension cords, and going to maintainers over there on the other side, because I don't have my electrical outlets on the other side. It's going to the Dodge Ram 3500 over there. I got one on the King Quad right here, and the T-Dub. And I keep one permanently too, right here on this zero turn. So anyway, I just thought I would show you guys on what I do in the off season. When a battery sits and when my equipment sits in the off season, your battery's going to run down. It's inevitable. It may not run right out on you if it's a good battery, and you may come out and it might start perfectly in the spring, but your battery has discharged slightly. It's inevitable, especially with these lead acid batteries here. They're gonna discharge on you. And another thing, any battery, it doesn't matter if it's the cold winter or the hot summer, if you're not using a battery, and it doesn't matter year round, if you're not using a battery, put a charger or a trickle charger on it, a maintainer, call it whatever you want. But put a maintainer on a battery that's sitting idle, and it'll prolong the life of that battery for sure. So I just thought I'd show you guys. I'm in the garage today, again, and I'm just working on some equipment today. I got the 80 back in the shop today, and I got the undercarriage of that 80. A lot of the mud's taken off. I left it out in the rain a little bit. And I'm just getting it prepped, hopefully to warm up and do a little painting on it. So that's what I'm doing in the garage today, but I thought I better get the maintainer on the battery. And the reason that I put a permanent pigtail on that U25 is because I have them on everything, and I just reorganized the back of the garage and the equipment, and I thought perfect time to put a pigtail on that U25. So that's what I'm working on today right here. And I just thought I'd show you guys what you should do with your batteries, and even this GMC out here. If you notice in some of my videos, in the past videos, you'll see an extension cord coming from the garage going across out to the old GMC top kick out there. And I had a maintainer on that too. But I'm going to change that this year. When I change the grade of this parking area out here and I clean up, I am going to run underground wiring from in the garage. And I'm going to put a couple terminals out here on pressure treated posts. And I'm going to put them, figure out my parking area where I'm going to park the truck possibly, or any other piece of equipment outside for whatever reason. And I'm going to have hydro outlets outside for block heating, the truck plugging it in, at least one with a double outlet on there, 110 volt out there. So I can plug that truck in outside and I don't have to run extension cords. So that'll happen this year once I get the grading of this parking area down. And this is all going to come down probably 18 inches, I would say. but we'll shoot it and we'll find out this year what I need for grade. So I'm going to install a bit of electrical underground, and then you don't have to, I don't want to run over, and this year too, not once but twice, I ran into that extension cord with the ASV RT30 blade on the front and the front end loader on that Kubota. Completely forgot about the extension cord. Everything was buried in snow, so that's what you get. You ram it with the bucket, next thing you know, you've skived the outer protective coating off your extension cord, or you cut it, or you chop it in half. So anyway, I want to get rid of all that. I don't want anything sitting above ground here next winter. Hopefully things go good and I can get some electrical buried in the ground there, but I'm for sure going to get this graded and fixed up too. So I thought I'd show you guys what you should do with your batteries for long-term storage, or any battery that sits idle for a long time in a piece of equipment that you seldom get out, or seasonal stuff. Do yourself a favor. Put a smart tender, smart charger, call them what you will, battery maintainer. Everybody calls them something a little different, but don't put a straight up battery charger for long-term. Do not do that, where you're continuously putting amperage to that battery. Don't do it. Put a maintainer on there, and it'll do your batteries a world of good. Okay, you guys, thanks for tuning in. I'm going to continue fooling around out here. Okay, thanks.